Nalla spinning. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Haribol Nitai Gaura Haribol Nitai Gaur Premanande Haribol Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Today we will be discussing from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, text 41. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushakha hi anantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. Krishna here says, Vyavasaya atmika buddhihi ekeha kurunandana. O Arjuna, O Kurunandana, this intelligence called Vyavasayatmika buddhi, the intelligence called Vyavasayatmika intelligence, ekeha, it is one. That means those who are resolute in purpose, their intelligence or their aim is one. Ekeha. In other words, if our intelligence is very resolute on something, we don't aim for multiple things. Come what may, we go for only one. That is called Vyavasayatmika buddhi. Ekeha kurunandana. But for those whose aim is not one, who are not resolute in purpose, bahushakha hi anantascha buddhayaha avyavasayinam. Avyavasayinam means irresolute. So the intelligence of those who are irresolute becomes many branched. Bahushakha hi anantascha. They don't aim for one thing. So Krishna is saying here, if you have to progress in spiritual life, you have to be resolute in one purpose in life. Towards the end of life, ante narayana smritihi. The success in life is if we can remember Krishna at the end of life and go back home, back to Godhead. And in order to reach that stage of life, our intelligence, our spiritual intelligence has to be resolute. It should not be shaken. It should not be multi-branched. It should be Vyavasayatmika buddhi. And Prabhupada in the purport, he quotes this verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it is said, Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Sudrudha Nischay Krishne Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family, traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. Why? Because in that stage, all activities are on the absolute plane. There is no longer any duality like good or bad activity. That is the nature of Krishna conscious activities. So that state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. Tasmad ekena manasa, with one pointed focus. Bhagavan sattvatam patihi, shrotavyaha kirtitavyascha, dhyeyaha pujyascha nityada. With one pointed attention, one should focus on spiritual life. In later verses, Krishna also mentions Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam tayapahrita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhir samadhav na vidhiyate. One who is bewildered by bhoga and aishwarya, taya apahrita chetasam, one whose consciousness is bewildered by this bhoga means opulence, or sense enjoyment. Aishwarya means opulence, wealth, riches. So persons who are very much attached to sense gratification and hankering after material opulence, that will apahrita chetasam, that will bewilder our consciousness. And then we'll think, oh, these things will save me, these things will give me happiness. But ultimately, we have to know that we have to leave all these things behind us and we have to go alone. When a bird flies in the sky, he has to leave behind him everything and he has to fly on his own strength. There's no other help. Why only bird? Take these airplanes, jet planes. When they get onto the sky, leaving the land, the plane has to depend on itself. If the plane is sufficiently strong, then it can fly on its own. Otherwise, there is danger. So we need to become very strong because at the end of life, we have to fly on our own, by our own strength of Krishna consciousness. We need that vyavasayatmika buddhi, resoluteness in this path. Our aim should be one. So we have to read Bhagavad Gita with that perspective. We have to practice Krishna consciousness with that perspective. If we don't associate with Krishna and the spiritual master, we will get misguided by so many things, so many promises. This material world promises through Maya, oh, this will give me happiness, this will save me. No, that is not vyavasayatmika buddhi. That is bahushakha. Our intelligence is multi-branched. Let me focus on that. Let me focus on this. No, our focus should be how I can improve my Krishna consciousness, how I can use this life. I have misused my life in so many lifetimes earlier, but in this life, I should become resolute. I should take up, come what may. It doesn't matter. This life I should dedicate for Krishna consciousness. And if I engage in Krishna consciousness, sarva karma kruta hoy. All my other things are automatically done, satisfied. Krishna will take care. If you see Prabhupada's life itself, it is a classic example. Prabhupada, in many places, he has quoted this verse, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, one of his favorite verses. And he said, when he read this commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of our predecessor acharyas, he said that Vyavasayatmika Buddhi means taking the orders of the spiritual master as one's life and soul and executing them without any deviation. That is called Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. And that has inspired Srila Prabhupada so much. Throughout his life, he kept that instruction at the forefront of his consciousness. When his spiritual master left this planet in 1936, Srila Prabhupada, he continued to work to please the order of his spiritual master, even though he was not getting much cooperation from his family. But he continued to push on to the best of his ability the instructions of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In 1944, Srila Prabhupada, he founded this magazine, Back to Godhead magazine, the fortnightly magazine, single-handedly. Prabhupada edited it, he typed the manuscripts, he distributed personally individual copies. In 1947, there was Indian independence, but it was followed by the horrors of India-Pakistan fighting, and hundreds of people died in the fighting that followed the partition. But Prabhupada remained focused, and he wrote in one of his magazines articles. We have seen in 1947 this Hindu Muslim fighting. One party was Hindu, the other party was Muslim. They fought, and so many died. And after death, there was no such distinction as who was Hindu or who was Muslim. The municipality, these men, they came, they gathered these bodies together in piles to throw them somewhere. And he presented a solution in Back to Godhead magazine. And in one of the articles he wrote, titled Gandhi Jinnah Talks, he wrote, fighting will go on between the Hindu and Mohammedan, between Christian and Christian, between Buddhist and another Buddhist, till the day of annihilation. As long as people forget their purpose in life, forget their relationship with God, and each other out of selfish material interests, desires for sense gratification, they will continue fighting. And real unity was possible only on the platform of spiritual understanding and service to the Supreme. In 1947, Prabhupada also wrote a letter to Gandhi, and he called himself as Gandhi's unknown friend. And he said, I'm telling you, as a sincere friend, you must immediately retire from active politics if you do not desire to die an inglorious death. Prabhupada never received a reply. But on 30th January 1948, maybe a month after he sent the letter, Gandhi was shot to death, almost as a prophecy. And Prabhupada continued to push on his preaching movements, execute the order of his spiritual master. He was invited to speak in Jhansi, in Gita Mandir, by a colleague that he had met as a customer at the Jhansi hospital. And there, the audience were mostly students and professionals, and who were just there to get some social and cultural satisfaction. And the many speakers, they came and went. And Prabhupada was visionary, ambitious. And he left his Allahabad business affairs in the hands of his son. And he tried to start the spiritual movement in Jhansi. So he spoke very authoritatively, giving the message of his spiritual master and Krishna's message. But he was not discouraged by the meager response. He started a movement in Jhansi called the League of Devotees. And eventually, he started to retire from family life. In 1951, he accepted Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means retirement, official retirement from family life, not sannyasa. Vanaprastha is one stage before sannyasa. So he dedicated his energy into study and writing. And he started to vigorously preach in Jhansi. He started to plan for a big building and grand opening of that building called the League of Devotees. But somehow he met so many roadblocks. He had to leave that building because the governor's wife insisted that that building should be used for some ladies' club. And Prabhupada left with no place to stay and no real support. He left Jhansi. But he did not leave his plans for a worldwide association of devotees. He lived a mendicant life, staying here and there for a week at a time in various temples or in the homes of wealthy, pious people who would receive him. And these were materially difficult times, but Prabhupada always maintained in his heart the instruction of his spiritual master. He took those difficulties as inspirations, which made him even more strong in his resolve. He was apparently rejected by family and friends as a material failure. But his only solace was the mission of his spiritual master. And to fulfill that mission, he continued to approach many prominent personalities. He even approached Dr. Rajendra Prasad, at the time the President of India, but he did not receive any reply. And Prabhupada eventually moved to Vrindavan in 1956 to begin intensive preparation and study to embark on his life's mission. And he was engaged in Dham. He was engaging people to contribute to his mission, and he continued to focus on his writing and distributing. He would commute to Delhi regularly in that severe heat in summers. North India can be very, very difficult in summers. He would live in an inexpensive room in a temple called Vamshi Gopalji Temple, located on the bank of Yamuna River. And he would commute to Delhi on the early morning train. And he was living on limited budget. He had nowhere to stay in Delhi. He would have to return to Vrindavan the same night. It is not as easy as it is nowadays. One has to go to the train station, wait a few hours, make arrangements. So many things have to be done. He had only few hours in Delhi. Everything was so expensive. But he continued traveling, printing, mailing, and he produced 12 consecutive fortnightly editions of Back to Godhead. And he ran out of money. And the printer would tell him that he couldn't just print simply out of friendship. But Prabhupada continued to write, build up a stockpile of preaching materials. And finally, Prabhupada decides in 1959 to take up sannyasa. And he ventures again to preach in Delhi. Prabhupada went to, there is a famous temple, Chippivada temple. And he would go there and write day and night to present Srimad Bhagavatam with purports. And Prabhupada writes, this Bhagavatam literature is meant to cause revolution in the lives of the world's misdirected civilization, the impious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. So in this way, he continued to preach. And Prabhupada eventually moved to the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan, coming from Delhi. And he would look at constantly this samadhi of Rupa Goswami while honoring prasadam. And Prabhupada continued to focus and plan on how to execute this mission of his spiritual master, getting guidance. At one instance, he wrote a poem in a renounced and solitary mood called Vrindavan Bhajan. And the opening stanzas are very, very personal and touching. And he said, the first one of that poem, he says, I'm sitting alone in Vrindavan Dham. In this mood, I'm getting many realizations. I have wife, sons, daughters, grandsons, everything, but I have no money. So they are a fruitless glory. Krishna has shown me the naked form of material nature. By his strength, it has all become tasteless to me today. Yasyaham anugrahnami harishye tadhanam shanaihi. Prabhupada is quoting this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is said, Krishna is saying, I gradually take away all the wealth of those upon whom I am merciful. How was I able to understand this mercy of the all-merciful? And in the next verse, he writes, everyone has abandoned me, seeing me penniless. Wife, relatives, friends, brothers, everyone. This is misery, but it gives me a good laugh. I sit alone and laugh. Is this Maya Samsara, whom do I really love? Where have my loving father and mother gone now? And where are all my elders? Where were my own folk? Who will give me the news of them? To tell me who? All that is left of this family life is a list of names. So actually at this time, Prabhupada, he takes sannyasa. He sees the vision of his spiritual master in his dream, calling him repeatedly to come and take sannyasa. And Prabhupada eventually heeds in to the advice of his spiritual master, the order of the spiritual master. And through his god brother, he eventually takes sannyasa and continues to preach the order of his spiritual master. He faces many hurdles, including one time he would be horned by a bull in the marketplace, and he survives that attack. Somebody picks him up and takes care of Prabhupada. Of course, the Lord is always protecting the pure devotee. So in this way, Prabhupada continued to write in Vrindavan, publish books. The first book he wrote was Easy Journey to Other Planets. And in 1962, he completes the first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam. In 1965, he completes second volume. And then he continues his effort to come to the USA. And even then, he would be facing so many hurdles. How to acquire a ticket, how to acquire a sponsor. He was alone, but the Lord was helping him. Materially, he was alone, but spiritually, he had everyone. The Lord, the spiritual master, the Lord's potency, everything was working for him. So this is the instruction. If we show the resolve, vyavasayatmika buddhi, in the middle of apparent material difficulties, even though materially the situation may not be favorable, but spiritually, those are nothing but the stepping stones of success. We should take those difficulties as the path, the Lord, the blocks of path the Lord is paving for our success. We should derive this inspiration from Prabhupada's life. Have to have this vyavasayatmika buddhi. And Prabhupada was making ambitious plans for Krishna. At that age, when people retire, especially when they go to pilgrimage places, they want to retire peacefully. But Prabhupada's mood was different. He wants to satisfy the order of his spiritual master, start a worldwide movement, take Chaitanya Mahaprabhu everywhere. Prithivite yache yate, Prithivite yata nagaradi gram, sarvatra prachar hoibe morana. How many ever there are villages and towns in this earth, planet Earth, in all these places, my glories will be heard. And Prabhupada wanted to make that a reality. And reality he did make. So Prabhupada came and he started in a very humble way in US. He would go and sit in the park and start to chant, and people would come and would be mesmerized by wonderful kirtan, and they would go along with him to the temple, hear him speak from Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna helped inspire them to go to his place, and they were influenced by his purity, and they were taken to Krishna consciousness. So this is the triumphant story of Srila Prabhupada, who proved that Shraddha Shraddhe Vishwas Ko Hai, we should have unflinching trust in the order of the spiritual master. In the purport also Prabhupada is writing, service in Krishna consciousness is however best practiced under the able guidance of a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Krishna. who knows the nature of the student, and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna. And one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Every morning we sing this song in Mangala Arti time. Samsara Dava Nalalidha Loka. There are 8 verses that we sing. It's composed by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. And the last of that verse reads something like this. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan nagati kutopi dhyayan stuvam stasya yashastri sandhyam vande guru sri charanaravindam. What that means is yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. If the spiritual master is satisfied, bhagavat prasadaha, that is as good as Krishna is satisfied. Because we cannot understand, we cannot know how to satisfy Krishna. We don't have access to Krishna. When we please the spiritual master, it should be taken that Krishna is being pleased. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado. Yasya aprasadam nagati kutopi. If one displeases the spiritual master, he doesn't have a chance. Nagati kutopi. Dhyayan stuvam stasya yashastri sandhyam. So one should meditate on such a spiritual master, trisandhyam, 3 times a day. Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. So this is the glory of a bona fide spiritual master. And Prabhupada continues to write in the purport, the whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body. Not theoretically, but practically. So there is gnana, and then there is vijnana. Gnana means theoretically knowing. Vijnana means practically implementing that knowledge. That means service. We should not just learn this knowledge, but implement that knowledge, which is manifested in terms of serving the instruction of the spiritual master. We should not just be contained to lip service. We should do something. Prabhupada said, when you go to a spiritual master, you should not inquire from him how he will resolve your material problems. Swamiji, give me your blessings so that I can come out of the situation, or I can be healthy and happy. When you go to a guru, you should ask how I can serve you, because that is a success. When you serve the spiritual master, all success will be there. The Lord will benedict you with vijnana. He will give you the power to assimilate the knowledge you have acquired. Without serving the spiritual master, you will not be able to understand the knowledge. It will remain on a theoretical level. That is why tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyamti te gnanam gnaninas tattvadarshinaha. There needs to be 3 things. Pranipatena, one has to surrender. If you go to a spiritual master, you have to surrender, not with a challenging spirit. Pariprashnena means there has to be inquiry. Just like Parikshit Maharaj, he was inquiring from Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami was testing him. Hey Parikshit, if you want to get rid of your sinful reactions, perform atonement. And Parikshit Maharaj was not blindly hearing. He was posing questions. Oh, dear spiritual master, but I find that people who do atonement, they continue to perform sinful activity, like an elephant who goes and takes bath and cleanses his body and comes out of the river and immediately takes this dust and puts all over its body. Hasti Snan. So I think that this atonement process you're suggesting is like that. They may perform atonement, get rid of their sinful reactions. But again, their heart is not cleansed. They come and do all these nonsense activities. So I'm sorry, I don't seem to buy what you're saying. And Sukadev Goswami becomes very pleased because Parikshit Maharaj passed the test. Sukadev Goswami wantedly mentioned that to see if he was hearing properly. He was attentive. And then Sukadev Goswami explains it. The real process to vanquish our sinful reactions from the heart, not just externally. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayanaha agham dhunvanti katsnena niharam iva bhaskaraha. He said, just by kevala bhakti, pure devotional service, unmotivated devotional service, one pointed devotional service. Agham dhunvanti katsnena. Completely, our sinful reactions are burnt. There are many kinds of sinful reactions. Aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalonmukham kramenaiva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. Our sinful reactions, there are many kinds of sinful reactions. In like a seedling stage, that which is sprouting, that which has sprouted, that which has manifested and giving us fruits, which we are suffering now as prarabdha karma. And that which you are about to commit, aprarabdha karma. All these are, it's like huge mesh of the sinful reactions that are lying in our storage. All of that by pure devotional service. Vishnu Bhakti Ratatmanam Kramenaiva Praliyeta. All of that become vanquished. So the real cure for sinful reaction is not atonement, but pure devotional service. Because only then our hearts will be purified. So then Parikshit Maharaj accepted it. So we should have inquiry. We should surrender to the spiritual master. We should have inquiry and then sevaya, service. We should offer service to the spiritual master. Not just take instructions. You should please the spiritual master with service. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we can find from two instances how one disciple pleased the spiritual master and got the highest mercy of love of Krishna, whereas the other, he pained the spiritual master and became good for nothing. So there was Madhavendra Puri, who was considered one of the topmost acharyas and who was responsible for bringing this wonderful Madhurya Rasa into this world. His disciple, Ishvara Puri, he engaged as a menial servant for Madhavendra Puri. He cleaned up his stool and urine in the old days of Madhavendra Puri. Of course, a Vaishnava never becomes invalid. It is his mercy that he shows and he gives an opportunity to serve. He gives opportunity for his disciples to serve him. So Ishvara Puri took that opportunity to serve him. And with his personal hands, he cleaned up the refuse, Madhavendra Puri. And he would sing wonderfully about Krishna and chant to please his spiritual master, to help the spiritual master focus on Krishna. And he was very pleased and he blessed him. May Krishna give you ecstatic love. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on the basis of Srila Ishwar Puri's devotion and seva to his spiritual master, accepted Srila Ishwar Puri as his spiritual master. This is the Lord. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who defeated stalwart scholars, the famous Keshava Kashmiri, who was called Digvijay Pandit, he was going around throughout India. Dik Vijaya means he has conquered all directions. And he came to Navadvip, and all these scholars of Navadvip, they become so perturbed. Oh my God, what to do now? Now he will come and defeat us. So they schemed. They said, let us send Nimai. Let us use Nimai. Nimai Pandit. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was called Nimai Pandit. He was a small youngster, teenager. So if he was defeated, then we can say, yeah, okay, Digvijay Pandit has defeated only a teenager in Navadvip. But if he somehow ends up winning, then we can say, see, Navadvip, even a teenager can defeat the greatest scholar. So they use the tactic. And Digvijay Pandit, Keshav Kashmiri, he tried to show his prowess, but he was soundly defeated by the Lord. Not arrogantly, but defeated in a way that Keshav Kashmiri became a devotee. And Mother Saraswati appeared before him in the night in his dream and told him, Nimai Pandit is my Lord. My game doesn't run before him. He is my master. I have to be obedient to him. And then Keshav Kashmiri goes and surrenders to the Lord. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not just Keshav Kashmiri, he defeated the biggest of scholars in his time. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Puri. He was Brihaspati himself. And he defeated him soundly. And in a way that he became devotee. The Lord defeated Prakashananda Saraswati, who had 60,000 disciples in Varanasi, the seat of learning in India. At that time, it's very famous for impersonalist scholars. He defeated, and they became devotees. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was asked by Ishwar Puri to work on some of editorial work for his book about Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I cannot do that. You are Acharya, you are the pure devotee. Whatever you write will be perfect. We should not find faults. But as a duty, he said, no, you should edit. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was editing. And then one day he found one word. He said, okay, this probably is not correct. We should use something else. And he brought it up to Ishwar Puri. And Ishwar Puri said, okay, let me think about it. But he thought about it for a day and then came back and said, no, I think that's the right word. And he explained why it is right. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was defeated. The Lord, who is defeated these great Digvijay Pandits, the greatest of scholars, became conquered by a pure devotee who was blessed by another pure devotee by his service. See the power of the blessing of a pure devotee when you please with your humble service, menial service. Whereas there was another disciple of Madhavendra Puri called Ramachandra Puri, who was constant fault finder. And he would visit Madhavendra Puri towards the end of the life. And when Madhavendra Puri was on the bed, the pure devotee always laments, I have not been able to focus on Krishna. I have wasted my life. Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gunainu. Manushya Janama Paya Radha Krishna Na Bhajiya. This is the mood of a pure devotee, very humble. But this Ramachandra Puri comes and sees, and he really thinks, oh, why he is lamenting like this? And he starts to instruct his own spiritual master. Oh, why you are lamenting like this? A Brahmabhuta, a liberated person, should not lament. Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati. And not only was he instructing him, he was instructing him about impersonal liberation. And Madhavendra Puri becomes enraged, so displeased with him, and he just shoos him away from the place. Please immediately go away from here. If you continue to stay here, if I continue to see and associate you, I'll definitely not be able to remember my Lord at the time of my death. So just go away from here. And because of that, Ramachandra Puri, he did not get the blessing of his spiritual master. And he continued his life of criticism to the extent that he tried to find faults with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, much to the displeasure of all the devotees. And his life became unsuccessful. So, this is the difference. When one serves the order of the spiritual master with all the difficulties, whatever may be the difficulties, all success is there. Because we don't know what is success. We think in our own ways, this is success to attain this much wealth, this position, this job, this power is my success. But they are all, in all probability, is entangling us into further and further into this material complications. We may not see what is good for us, but if we have faith that my spiritual master knows what is good for us, Krishna knows what is good for me. I have given so many lives uselessly for executing my own sense gratificatory business. Let me do one life for my spiritual master. Then we'll become really successful. Whether others may think that a success or not, we should not care. Like how Prabhupada, he didn't care whether others thought, oh, he was a failure, he gave up his family, business, he lost everything. Of course, even materially speaking, he became successful in the end. He got so many temples, so many children, so much famous throughout the world. Of course, a pure devotee doesn't want to become famous by himself, but the Lord reciprocates. He gives. He pushes his pure devotee to the front, but the pure devotee tries the Lord to push the Lord to the front. So that's how we should take this verse. We should develop vyavasayatmika buddhi. Always chant the holy name. Always try to follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions. And to our level best, whatever ability we have, the Lord has given some ability, pranayir, ardhair, dhiya, vacha, our life or intelligence, words. We should use any of these or all of this in the service of Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master, and make our life successful. So we'll stop here. If you have any questions, please post it on the chat. Otherwise, we will end in 1 or 2 minutes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right. So I don't see questions here in the chat. We will end the call here. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.